Point number 3 today is what God has ordained. Then God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves on the earth. Chapter 2 deals a lot more, as I said a moment ago, with the personal relationships between a man and a woman. However, the subject of marriage, because of that, has to be left to that time, and we're not going to discuss that today. But this particular verse that I just read sets the pattern for physical relationships. God told them to be fruitful and to multiply. So what is implicitly stated there is that sex is meant for the people of the world, but that it has been ordained to be between a man and a woman. The earth cannot be filled with people who are engaged in homosexuality. Instead, God created us, male and female, for the purpose of procreation in order to fill the earth. Anything contrary to this, then, is a perversion of what God has ordained. Accounts such as the one talking about Sodom and Gomorrah are recorded in the Bible specifically to address the issue of homosexuality. Unfortunately, in order to twist what is written there, homosexual advocates will often say that what is implied in the Sodom account is a belligerent and an unwelcoming attitude of the people in Sodom and Gomorrah and not homosexuality. But if they would simply go ahead and read the rest of their Bible, they would find that the Bible interprets this passage elsewhere, such as in the book of Jude. It says, and the angels who did not keep their proper domain, but left their own abode, he has reserved in everlasting chains under darkness for the day of judgment of the great day, as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities around them in a similar manner to these, having given themselves over to sexual immorality and gone after strange flesh, are set forth as an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. In other words, what happened in Sodom and Gomorrah is a picture of what we can expect if we don't turn from this type of behavior for eternity in the lake of fire, which is hell. The law of Moses also gives insights into the matter of homosexuality. And I'm not saying that we're under the law as Christians. We're not. But here's what it says, and it gives us insights into what God thinks about this particular issue. If a man lies with a male as he lies with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. Now, we don't want to do that anymore. That's not the intent of Christianity, is to go stoning people to death, but it's to get them to understand that this is God's nature and this is what he expects, and that they should turn and repent from that. God will deal with those who fail to do that. Speaking of what is obvious from creation, including these interpersonal relationships, Paul says this in the book of Romans, for this reason God gave them up to vile passions, for even their women exchanged the natural use for what is against nature. Likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the women, burned in their lust for one another, men with men committing what is shameful and receiving in themselves the penalty of their error which was due. Another of God's ordinances that we saw earlier, and it's mentioned again in this verse, verse 28, says, when God said that man is to have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves on the earth, man has been given ruling authority over the animals of the earth, both for their care and for their control. So to elevate animal life to the same level as man is to actually bring dishonor on God, because God created man in his image.